Hello, everybody, and you are welcome to another episode of the My Take Show. Wait, I said another episode, the final episode. Oh my goodness, this is super exciting. We've had 12 amazing episodes in season 3 of the show with my amazing girlfriends. And thank you all for being a part of it. And thank you for all of your feedback and everything else that we've had. Today, I am super excited to welcome you and to welcome my girlfriends to the show. And my name is Adenike, and I will let Tutu go first and introduce herself.
Hi everyone, this is Tutu, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Faye, and I'm happy to be here this morning.
Excellent. And of course, I am super excited because we have a special guest in the house, Remi Adeboyega. Remi is a UK registered nurse and RNLD. She's currently working as a psychiatrist nurse with the NHS and is trainee psychotherapist specializing in trauma and PTSD. But apart from that, not only does she have an amazing professional experience, she also has what I think is of great value, which is she also is a pastor. She also has not just a pastoral experience, but what I call it is both a spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical experience when it comes to human beings and the different areas of our relationships and interactions. So it is a joy. Remi, can you say hi and tell us a bit more about you, something I didn't say at all?
Oh, that's so interesting. Thank you very much. Just like you said, my name is Remi Adeboyega. I just want to say good afternoon, right in UK to everyone. All right. I'm a trained teacher as well for over 30 years now with a degree in education. I've been practicing as a mental health nurse in the United Kingdom for a few years now. I'm also a trainee psychotherapist, and a counselor. I have a great passion for encouraging people, motivating people, especially women, just for them to fulfill their passion and also to fulfill their destiny and purpose in life. I've been a convener also. I am a convener of the monthly Praying Moms Forum in Swindon here in the United Kingdom, where we pray, mothers come together to pray on a monthly basis for our children and also for the children that do not have a praying mom. I'm married to my lovely husband, Pastor Kunle Gabriel Adeboyega, and I've got 4 children.
Excellent. Wow. Thank you so much. And well done. Amazing things that you're doing in the community and globally. And it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Well, today's episode, our 12th and final episode for season 3. Season 3 has been all about the help series. We've tackled different things, either that we have heard from our viewers or larger conversations that are out there where it's gaining a lot of conversations, a lot of visibility. And so we've had discussions about it, and that has helped to form some of our discussions. And why is that key for us? It's because My Take is a forum where ladies, we hang out, we talk about the pertinent issues going on around us. We share our thoughts, we share our opinions from a value-based perspective. We lend our voices to the issues, but we do it in a way that promotes a culture of love and compassion, but we also tell the truth and we're very candid. So today's topic, help, I'm not sexually compatible with my spouse, is an area that, in our conversations, speaking to different people, married people, we've identified that this is an area that a lot of times couples do have struggles with, but it's an area that people struggle to speak to someone about or to look out for help. It's so funny, just, was it a couple of days ago, we saw a post online. We see some of these posts amongst ourselves. I know it's one of those posts that said, if you're not sexually attracted, physically and sexually attracted, or physically and sexually compatible, or maybe attracted was the word, do not marry the person. And it was positioned like that is the only yardstick that you use. well, we appreciate that when it's time for the viral world to go around, people put all these half stories in there. But this is a major issue and a lot of misunderstandings that have been put in there. So today we really want to get clarity. We really want to address this. We really want to talk and help couples who are genuinely facing challenges in the area of their sexual life. So one of the first questions, and hey, this is my take. So first of all, thank you to all our viewers. Good to see you here. We want to hear your take. Please feel free to post in the chat. Would like to feature your thoughts. Everyone has a voice. And if there's a question, why not? Please ask. We have an expert here today, and we believe that it's going to be a great session as we do that. So my first question, and I'm going to go straight to you, Remy. Now, if there is no sexual compatibility, does that mean a marriage is over? And I think maybe you should even help us. What really is this whole sexual compatibility that people talk about? Let's even break it down.
Awesome. By the way, thank you for inviting me. Actually, I want to start with what is sexual compatibility. All right. When we talk about sexual compatibility, we refer to a situation where two partners having shared or similar sexual needs, including sexual preferences, turn-ons, or desired frequency. Excuse me. By the way, once you marry someone to whom you are physically attracted to, so it starts from there. Of course, you should marry somebody that you like or you love. All right. So, and usually, if sexual attraction is not there at the beginning, it's so hard, to develop it, in marriage. So when you're talking about sexual compatibility, you're talking about your sex drive, or do you, different ways of kissing, or or like enjoying sexual behavior the same way, or the way you communicate during the sexual, with all this. In marriage, we can grow it. So what I'm saying in essence is, if there's no sexual compatibility, it does not mean the marriage is over. The most important thing is, have a sexual attraction first, love the person you want to marry, like the person you want to marry, but meanwhile, in that relationship, you can begin to develop, by communicating. Sexual compatibility means you grow over some things in the relationship, consistent, constant, open communication, all these things will make, both of you to come together, to agree together, and also to approach each other without blaming each other. And I love this, which I use in psychotherapy, using high message instead of you, pointing blame on two people. Using high messages, for example, I will like this instead of you always do this. I hope it makes sense,
Absolutely. And I think you make a very valid point, something you said, which I'm a firm believer that I think that marriage is one of the beauty of marriages is that, there's supposed to be growth and it's supposed to be intimacy. And I think that, sometimes the initial drive that people focus on, like I said, the post that went out, it wasn't that it was wrong, but the point was that it just brings it's so limited that there are other parameters that you can't make such broad sweeping statements. Because I like something you said. A lot of people get married to someone that they love, that they feel they're so hot, they're so attractive, physically attracted, the rest of it. And a few years later on, you actually don't like the person. It's one thing to marry someone you love, but what sustains a marriage and in most cases your sexual relationship is the ability to like each other. Tutu, I don't know what you think about that.
Absolutely. I I totally agree that you have to also like your spouse. Sometimes I joke with my husband, like, oh, I don't like you anymore. But the truth is, over time, over the years, it's great. I mean, for me, for example, what the pandemic really showed me is the fact that I actually like my husband. So it's not just the love, but just especially in the beginning of the pandemic, that nobody we couldn't go out. We were all just stuck in the house. that really, really was an eye opener for me that, oh, I actually like this man, that I'm living with beyond the, I love my husband. So liking each other is actually very, very important. And I agree with what Remy said about um, even if you don't think there's a sexual attraction, these things grow, it grows. And for women, it's not just, I mean, over the years in marriage, you realize, I mean, if you married your husband because he's tall, dark, and handsome, that's not what sustains the marriage. Because if the person is not nice to you, they don't do anything, they don't help you, they don't meet your emotional needs, you begin to grow resentment. But if this person is considerate, I guess in marriage, the laws of attraction changes over the years. So it goes beyond the physical. It now goes into how this person treats you, how they make you feel while they're with you. They are helping you take care of the children, so all of these things, they talk to you nicely. All of these things actually make them, sexually attractive to you. So it's no longer what you saw when you were getting married. I mean, of what purpose is six packs if the six pack is used to beat you, or to, or the person is not being nice to you? Thank you.
I like that. That's so true. Afei, do you have any thoughts as well?
Yes, definitely. So I think this point that a relationship is not static is very important. And so when people say, "Oh, there's no sexual compatibility," my response is, "What does that mean?" So because right now you're not gelling in the way that you both like, does that mean that forever you cannot gel? No. You speak, you discuss with each other, you adjust. Life is about marriage is about learning about your spouse and how to meet each other's needs, right? So it's no different in this area. I like this, I don't like that. A part of the problem is that people don't communicate. And that's why you conclude, maybe you've been doing things the same way and you've never enjoyed it. Then you say you're not compatible. No, have you had conversations? My husband and I were novices when we got married, and one of the things we used to do was actually, discuss. And me, I'm up front. I didn't like that one. So and then you adjust, and likewise. So I don't think there's anything has permanent compatibility. I think it's something you continue to work at, and you need to discuss with each other and be honest. I find that a lot of people just accept what they get, and then they say, "Oh, we're not compatible," and that's a shame.
I like the angle. That's a fantastic angle. That I like that. Like relationships are fluid. They have a life of its own. So your sexual life is going to be fluid, as we all know, and we can't remove communication and some of the other values. I don't want to get ahead of myself because I know there's so much packed in there. But I want to quickly bring this. We talked about people feeling that maybe it didn't quite work out. Marriage night was not what I thought it would be. Some people have had some interesting stories, and that has colored the way they've seen their sexual life. But we also know that unfortunately there are scenarios where couples, now it's going to be in different categories when we look at this, but I was going to say, what advice do you give to couples who are unable to consummate their marriage, meaning they got married, they've not been able to have a sexual contact, or they've not been able to build that sexual intimacy? And it could be because they were both aware of some challenges, they got married and they are working towards it. But in some cases, and I know of unfortunate incidences where, due to maybe physiological challenges and one partner being as upfront as you'd expect, they've had a courtship where they were not sexually, they were towards the word, they were not sexually intimate. They were practicing abstinence. Thank you. And only for there to be a shocker on the night of, or for the husband to want to make love to his wife, and her body isn't ready and her body just does not get ready. It could be anything. What do you say to couples who are in those early stages, very early stages of marriage, where there's a shock here? They weren't expecting this, or in some cases, they might even feel deceived. What are some of the scenarios, and what are some of the if you've had any experience with that, or some advice that you would offer to such a couple?
Oh, Should I go first?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
All right, all right. Well, thank you very much. That's very, very, a very good question. Yeah, and you have also explained what unconsummated marriage is, whereby there's no intimacy, no sexual relationship. We all know part of the major reason for marriage is it's to come together for sexual relationship. Yeah. So, but we need to look into the cause of this inability to consummate in marriage. So, just like you said, it could be lack of knowledge. They may not have a prior knowledge to what it is, how to go about sexual relationship in marriage. So that's why they need a prior counseling before marriage. Some people do have like a pre marital counseling, kind of a counseling before marriage. It's very good. I do advise people to go for it, and it could be as well be post trauma, PTSD. Could be as a result of PTSD symptoms. And what do I mean by PTSD symptoms? Some people must have been abused, especially sexual abuse, probably when they were young, and they're still, the symptoms and how it works, how the brain works is the way the brain stores the information. When we go through trauma, information are not stored very, very well. They are being disjointed, a bit. So when we face with anything that resembles, that trauma, it re-traumatizes us again, and we do develop a kind of a, somatization, kind of a physical thing, that as if the trauma is we're experiencing it now and now and now, and that in a couple or in a marriage or in a relationship, sexual relationship, it can as well affect your the intimacy. It could as well be lack of privacy. For example, people get married, they don't even have a room to themselves. They're still sharing, no privacy. So it could as well affect that. It could be, unreal fear, phobia, kind of a first day, first time. I know somebody that looked forward, somebody that I know that was able to share with me, she really kept herself. She was a virgin, she was looking forward to that day. But the day came and she said, "Oh, can it be tomorrow again?" So we just laugh it over. Can it be tomorrow again? Now that the day has come, just of fear and not really prepared for it. Yeah, and it could be as well be cultural or social factor or street religion factor. Yeah, some will say, now you are even in marriage. For example, if you're menstruating, I mean, all kind of things like that. You are not clean, so you wouldn't, have sex or things like that. Street religions, But with all these reasons, what can we do to help them? Counseling is very, very important. And we in psychotherapy, we have some protocols. For example, there is one I used with a client recently. It's called high hierarchy. It's imagery, rescripting, and reprocessing therapy. What it does is it will go back to the past and try to rewriting the script again. I told you, when the brain stored the information, it was not well formed. So we use a kind of a protocol, a kind of a therapy. It will go back to rescript it and also reprocess it. And you will have your life all over again. So now that kind of a therapy, please seek out for help. Psychotherapists are there, counselors are there.
Interesting. And thank you, Remy. You brought some clear, scenarios that definitely, could lead to that. If I hone in, I think that the whole PTSD, the whole experience, I just wanted to touch on, you brought some things that makes people get there. But I feel, and I'll maybe let Faye first speak to this. how do you also manage where it could be that so you get into a marriage and you may have been very upfront, talked about some of the challenges, and then we now know the brain part, like Remy explained to us, but the other person feels gutted, feels lied to, and in some cases there's plain deception. And this has it shows up anywhere, both within the walls of the places of faith and out, because that's where you find sometimes people being very intentional about abstinence. I'm not saying it doesn't occur other places, but sometimes you tend to find that more where abstinence is practiced because of people's faith, that they feel lied to, they feel deceived. And some of what Remy has said could be the explanation why they're not able to consummate. This is not just on the wedding night, and this is fundamental. The man may have a problem, and everything else like that, having an erection, or a woman may have had PTSD. She thinks she's okay, and just as about to touch her, something goes wrong, and he's like, "What's going on here?" First of all, apart from those physiological, what do you now do with those layers of anger? That even after, maybe because the therapy may work, but what if the therapy takes 3 months? What if it takes 6 weeks before people, and then even then you're still struggling? Some people are not ready for that. And help, let me use the word, Faye. What would they say? They say help.
Yeah, I think it really depends. So I think it's two different scenarios. One is that the person may not have been aware of the challenge that they had. And then another is that they were aware and they intentionally kept it from their spouse out of fear. And I think those are two very different scenarios. In the first scenario, it just means that your forwards is starting early on in the marriage, and you all have to buckle down together and weather the storm with God's help. If you're a couple of faith. In the second scenario, there's a really significant issue because you've broken trust and you've betrayed your partner. And I think in that situation, some serious counseling is required to even gain back the trust before you even start dealing with the issue. And it's I would have to say it's a very rocky start to a relationship. I know in the Catholic faith, they can just annul the marriage under that basis if it's not able to be consummated. So I think it's two very different scenarios. And then at that point, it's really to counsel the person and say, look, you need God to really give you wisdom in that instance as to whether you plan to, what you're going to do. I think it's a very difficult situation to be in. And also the person, the offending spouse, may have lied out of fear, right? So how do you unpack all of that? I think it requires a lot of counseling on both sides.
And I think I have to agree with you on that. But if I pivot to Tutu, and just to maybe we hone in on this, because I think this is sometimes where today's topic most people find themselves, which is that yeah, we kicked off, we started with love and everything else, and the sex was hot, it was powerful, it was fun, but 3 years later, 5 years later, 8 years later, 10 years later, couples are now experiencing a lot of dissatisfaction, dissonance in their sexual relationship. So to take us through from your perspective, and then I'll have Remy also speak to that, what some of the reasons why you feel couples experience this dissonance. Let's really hone in and talk about some issues and what people can do. And we can use different examples. I know almost everybody here has been involved in one form of counseling or the other in some of these areas, but I'd love to hear your thoughts as well.
Thank you, Nike. So the truth is, life happens to every one of us. Life happens even to your marriage. And, like we said earlier, that the marriage relationship is fluid, is not static. So as you go through different changes, sometimes it could be in your career. You're going through changes in your career. It could be, now you have kids, young kids, or preteens or teenagers, and you're having challenges with your kids. It could be challenges in health. It could be financial challenges. It could be anything at all. And sometimes it may not even have to do with, your health or your kids, or your job. Sometimes it could even be your hormones as we get older. So different kinds of things happen. And it's affects, the sexual relationship. So when these things happen, like Fahim talked about in the beginning, communication, as couples, we cannot stop communicating with each other. Having open and honest communication really, really helps. Sometimes some couples may go through a season, maybe while they are dealing with the issues they are dealing with, sex is the last thing on their minds, and it's mutual for those couples. But in some cases, one spouse still wants it, even if the heaven is falling, but let's still have sex. I mean, we can't kill each other. I mean, the husband or the wife may say, I can't come and kill myself, so please, while all this trouble is going on, at least let me enjoy this part of my life. And maybe, and the other spouse may be thinking, are you crazy with everything going on around us? But again, communication, communication, communication. And then sometimes things just get stale. Like maybe, oh, since we got married, it's just been this same position. It's either you're on top of me or I'm backing you or whatever. So sometimes it's just what you need, it's just adjustments. Again, communication. Look, we've been doing this. Maybe we just need to adjust. And for some couples, maybe you just need a change of environment, even within your home. Maybe you just need to try some, the guest room or somewhere else. Just a change of environment sometimes may, bring back the spark. But I'm not trying to trivialize that, couples really, really go through issues that affect their sex life. Sometimes resentment, unresolved resentment can also affect, people's sexual drive, unforgiveness, bitterness, hurt. But again, communication. If couples are willing to communicate, and sometimes resolving these issues may be beyond you, you may actually seek help. And there's nothing wrong with that. You may need to seek help, talk to, a counselor, or talk to another couple that you respect, that will keep your confidentiality and able to help you in this area. So again, communication would help. Couples being able to reach out and just try something new sometimes can also help. Thank you.
Thanks, Faye, Tutu. Very quite a lot of packed stuff in there. And I mean, Remy, I know Tutu has touched on quite a lot of reasons, But are there other things in your professional life, and professional covers ministry, education, like you've told us, healthcare field, that there are other things that you see that causes couples to just experience a dissonance as well, that people may not fully be aware of, that they might think, help, we're really having a problem, but there might just be your spouse is not, a wicked woman trying to withhold, sex from you, and your husband is not a selfish man that is uncaring. What are some of the other things that may be causing this dissonance?
Thank you, Nike. All right. I will start with there's something somebody said. Her name is Shanti Fedham. He said, working on yourself first rather than trying to change your spouse. All right. So we will start with working on yourself first. Maybe from my profession, if I have any misunderstanding, I start with what is my feeling now? What is my thought about it? Then how am I behaving? So I ask myself inside. I just ask myself, all right? And I ask myself again, what is my expectation about this person? All right? It helps us to manage relationship. What am I thinking about this person that is making this? What is my expectation about this person's behavior? What is my expectation? What am I thinking about the thought of this person? It helps us, So why I'm saying that is, at times, the spouse might be too, overwhelmed with issues. Someone that is overwhelmed with issues, mind will not be, sex will be the least thing it's thinking about. Even though we know that sex can help us to relax, but there is a kind of a level of stress that you will not be thinking about sex. depression, anxiety. Oh, those are the things that takes away sex drives. And depression does not come like that. It comes bit by bit. Anxiety does not come, like a trailer load. No, it comes bit by bit. So the sex drive is going and going and going. So, as the other party, we need to be sensitive and get to know about that. And also it can also be a side effect of medication. All right. People that are diabetics, it could be side effect of the medication. It affects the sex drive. People using psychotropic medication, it also affects their sex drive. And just like Tutu said, of course, if you have a misunderstanding with your wife or with your husband, of course you won't. That's not the time that you want to give everything. At that time, it's just take over my body, but I'm not there. I'm just. That's why personally, I would say let's sort this out. If you just want me to be there for you, we need to sort this out, first. So the emotional rift between partners and not being stimulated enough as well, not being stimulated enough. And we are coming into communication. We cannot overemphasize communication. As a married, people don't talk. This is how, if you want to get me on, this is what you should do. I've already told you. So, I expect I expect my man to do that. People don't talk enough. And what about that things I can think of? Hormonal changes, just like Tutu said, if you're pregnant, does not mean your man should be suffering. There should be, explore for different kinds of styles you can use, and and still enjoying it. That's it. And there's the final thing I want to say is there is no normal amount of sex. People will ask how many times you should do it. No government guidelines, no perfect number. It is about both of you.
Wow, very interesting. Faye, I don't even want to add anything to that, but I thought there were some very interesting points here. Thank you, Remy.
There were already a lot of points. I agree in general.
Yes. One last thing I would just like to add is for men, at least from what I've heard men say generally, if a man feels very disrespected by his wife, he may not have sexual desires for her. And over time, he's going to lose his attraction. He may not even be able to hold an erection around his wife if she's constantly disrespecting him.
And I think that's Faye. No, let me let you speak.
I was just going to speak to that. I think it goes both ways, no?
Yeah.
I think, in relationships, if you are not considerate of your spouse, it translates in other aspects, in the bedroom, as we would say. And so the relationship that you both have is critical, and the way you both treat each other is critical, and it definitely contributes to dissonance. I think the point that Tutu made on life happening is one that is important, and actually the thought just came to me is life is not static either, right? So maybe you're both really overwhelmed. You both have little kids. You're working. You're juggling a lot. Maybe you need to give yourself some grace, and this too shall pass, and not get frustrated about things. So we should also think about the fact that life is in ebbs and flows, and not every time will you be firing on all cylinders.
I like. Well, I think there's so many fantastic things that we're being, that really I think is cutting across. We're really identifying that truly. I really believe that, I believe that, God created sex. He created it as a beautiful experience for a husband and a wife to experience because of the bonding effects in a marriage. And I really say everything everybody has said here is we can't take away the fact that sex is beyond a physical coming together of a man and a woman. Some of the things we've talked about is It comes from a spiritual perspective. It comes from a mental perspective. It comes from an emotional perspective. It comes from, the word is intimacy. You want to be sexually intimate, so the ability to feel that you're in good communication, you feel loved and heard is helpful. So I think those are very important things that drive. I like something he said in the beginning, this whole concept of sexual compatibility, that what is it really? It's really not one thing. It's not our sexual compatibility is 9. There's a test we take. There are too many complex factors that come in. But I just want to quickly pivot to now talk about, what if all of this is happening? What if, spouses love each other, respectful, they consider each other, they're doing the best they can in a very busy world, but there are physiological challenges around sex that inhibits them, e.g., for example, genital mutilation, for some women, postpartum depression. I know we talked about the hormones, but I want to talk about, maybe I start an hormonal one, so let me stick to the physiological one. But for sometimes, for men, it could be, an actual erectile dysfunction. So if I use maybe genital mutilation for the woman or erectile dysfunction for men, this is where physiologically their bodies, either due to a negative thing that has been done to it, like mutilation, or for a man, just the way his body is, he's not able to, he has an erectile dysfunction. Now we can talk about, there are other things, just looking at this topic, other health issues, inability to ejaculate, pre-ejaculation. There are all sorts of phrases that the actual physical body doesn't seem to be cooperating with you. You love each other and it's bringing some sense of frustration. And a couple, especially those who have healthy lives and continue to build other areas, are trying to work on it. But sometimes I feel some people are embarrassed about it. They don't, it's not something they feel comfortable. I want to know what can be done, but I'll also bring a follow-up question in terms of what can be done physically and what can couples do to create a safe space for one another as they work through some of these challenges. And Remy, I'm happy for you to kick us off as well.
All right. Thank you very much. When we're talking about sexual dysfunctions in marriage, there are 4 types of it. The first one we talk about desire disorder. Desire disorder, and that is lack of sexual desire or interest in sex. That is the first one. That's the first category of sexual dysfunction in marriage. The second one is the arousal disorder. Inability to become physically aroused, or avoidance. And people, that's common to people with PTSD. I don't want to go into that again. Yeah.
Yes.
And another one is a orgasm disorder, delay or absence of orgasm, which, can happen in ladies as well, and also pain disorder, pain during intercourse. I've heard of people saying that it's so painful. This thing's supposed to be something you enjoy. This thing's supposed to be something that you have fun, you look forward to, you even ask for it. Not something that will bring fun to you, pain to you. Just like you said, it could be because of neurological disorders, hormone imbalances that we made mention of, chronic disease, such as kidney disease, liver failure. Of course, somebody going through that, we never think of sex, However, what we need at a point like that is we need to encourage one another. We need to, Tutu said, there are seasons in life. But one thing we know that we are people of faith. We know prayer works. Yeah, prayer works, coming together as husband and wife, and also pray over it. If you're a child of God, if you believe in God, you pray over it to overcome this hurdle in your family. Prayer works. Secondly, you go for maybe sex therapy. If it is something that requires sex therapy or counseling, at times you could even go to your GP. You go to, you seek for medical assistance. It could require surgery. Please go for it. If it does, don't say that no. Only prayers. But if it's something that requires surgery, please go for it. Ask for medical medical, help. There's something in lady that is called vaginismus. Vaginismus. Yeah, vaginismus. Yeah. It is a kind of a disorder, caused by involuntary vaginal muscle spasm in women, which make the vaginal penetration impossible. I should think, in a simple terms, it's so narrow that penetration will be very, very difficult, and definitely it will be very painful. And there's some ladies, as they grow older, to get their vaginal wet, it could be very, very difficult. You seek for help. There are some things you can use, gel and some other things, to lubricate yourself. Even though those physiological conditions are there, seek help, speak to people. Nika, you said it. People don't like talking about this. They don't like talking about it, but they are missing out. Yeah, the other time I told my women in the conference, and I told them, I said, you know what? There is a style. Once you go, you will enjoy sex. They're like, oh, kind of, explore. It's to be enjoyed. Yeah. So, people with that kind of a condition, you can pray together. You can as well seek medical, help in that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow, wow, that is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Tutu, you were going to say something?
Yes. I was just going to add that, as Remy mentioned about the health challenges that, people have, the truth is, for some couples, due to these health challenges, obviously they can't have sex. But I just want to encourage that, when they are going through this season, it doesn't mean that all hope is lost. I
No.
mean, there are other things that, couples can do to bring pleasure to each other. So I don't want us to just think, oh, if we can't have sex again, our marriage is over. There are couples that are living with this, health challenges, and but they still love each other. They still find a way to, pleasure each other. And for people of faith, of course, some of the vows we took in sickness and in health, and this is the time where, couples can now develop other ways to satisfy each other beyond, the sexual intercourse.
Like that. Faye, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I was actually discussing this topic with my husband ahead of time, and he said, "Look, at the end of the day, if you even calculate what percentage of time in your relationship goes to sex, it's such a minute percentage that why should the whole marriage crumble because of a situation?" So I think Remy and Tutu have said it all. Seek help, definitely. Be creative. It's not just one way. So be creative, but also just enjoy each other in other ways. So it should not be the cause of the marriage being over.
I absolutely agree. And I think that beautifully just brings us to like our final question, that what are some of the practical tips for building romantic love? Because romantic love does at the end of the day help to increase a couple's sexual appetite, and it sees them through some of those rough seasons. Those who know me, some of my favorite books, especially my top ones is His Needs, Her Needs. And sexual fulfillment is very important for the health of a marriage. But like Faye absolutely spot on said, what are the other needs that are being fulfilled, in a marriage? So I would like for maybe all of us to just go through, and I'm happy for you to use some of your own background and experiences, but what are some tips? What are some areas where we can continue to meet each other's needs that are critical, and ways in which we can build romantic love, put some lovely deposits in our love bank, and also help to get to that point of growing a couple's sexual appetite and working through those difficult seasons where they may have some challenges and dissonance in their sexual relationship. Tutu, what are some of your top level suggestions?
So this is funny to me. honestly. Like in the past, I'll just think of some high level romantic moves that my husband needs to do. But honestly, for me at this stage in my life right now, you know, he doesn't even have to do much. You can get me in so many ways. For example, I wake up in the morning and breakfast is ready for me before I go to, get into work and everything. Honestly, I find that to be very romantic sometimes. Like, I don't have to worry about breakfast. He's already made my breakfast the way I like it, my coffee the way I like it. Sometimes that just triggers, like, even before I go into work or during my break time and he's around, I just go and I hit him up, and of course, men like that, that they are not the only ones initiating sex. I mean, and when I do initiate randomly, not at night, maybe sometime during the day, and is, and it's quite, enjoyable because it's out of the normal way we do things. And so again, like we said earlier on about filling each other's love tanks, those are some things you can do. So sometimes it's not just the, oh, he bought me flowers, he turned on, he lit the candles, she did this. I mean, they are all very important, please don't get me wrong, but other things too are great to do. And like I mentioned earlier, just looking at another venue in your house can be great. And for people that have younger kids, having risky sex can be very romantic. Risky, I mean, the kids are around. You don't
Explain,
need
tell
to
us.
show up at any time, but you just quickly take the advantage. Like, oh my goodness, 10 minutes before they show up. Sometimes that can spark,
Yeah.
rekindle something in both of you.
All right,
I'll let
then.
you.
We have to giving us something new there in terms of risky one. Please be careful with the risk, but hey,
I was gonna
very
say,
interesting.
don't traumatize the kids,
I
please.
know, right? Don't traumatize them. You know.
Don't worry, they never caught us.
I mean, I have to say, for me, honestly, I mean, maybe I'm just boring. Like, being my champion, listening to me, hearing me out, being there for me. Just building the partnership together. For me, the fact that we're in this together, handling things in the house with me. I mean, it really goes a long way. I think, yeah, maybe also I was just thinking as Tutu was talking that I'm old. Like, the whole flowers thing used to be a thing that I was really into when I was younger, but these days I can get myself flowers if I want. What I need is be my rock, and then everything else will be fine. So I'm definitely a happy wife, happy life believer. Yeah, happy wife, happy life. So sort out. We're so busy. Where life is just so hectic. So just knowing that you're there for me, listening to me, and we're there for each other is really what I see as romance these days. Of course, we do take the time out to travel, to do things, outside the norm. But I think the core is really just that day-to-day living and being there, having each other's back. For me,
I like
anyway.
that. I'll pick some more romantic here. Then I have two questions from our audience, which is quite interesting. So I'd like to take that. So maybe I should first of all take this. That and it's just to build the conversation before our time is over. So Lola had said that she made a very great point that men and women need different things. Usually, women need intimacy first,
Yeah.
and that leads them to desire sex, and says, but men usually need sex first, and that awakens their desire for intimacy. Who goes first? And I know we have women here, but I know they are objective women. So, Remy, who goes first? Hey, meet the man's sexual need, and he would awaken his desire to be intimate, wants to open up, wants to talk to you. That's when you want anything you've been wanting to tell him at that point, you'll be like, okay, approved. Yes, I agree. I'll do whatever you say. Or for a woman who says, go and clean this first, take this out, make me dinner, help me put the children to bed, and then
Oh
I
my
go to
God.
market for me. So who goes first?
To be honest, yeah, just do what works for you in your own house. There's no fact, there's no rule about it that this is the one that goes first. what works for you. And it might not be every time, it might not be like a routine, you'll be able to assess it, every time, how it goes. For example, yeah, like my husband, yeah, I can text right from before he comes home. What are you gonna eat? That kind of a thing. Do you want this? Do you want that? Trying to prepare him for all that, and it works. It depends. Just assess the situation and see what goes. And why not let everything be going together, and then have the fun in the family.
Yes,
Do your own part, yeah. Do your own part and let him do his own part as well. As you're doing the dishes he likes, he's also getting prepared, in his body for you. So that's my own point.
You know what? When I was just before I got married, my mom told me, she's like, you know what? Just know this sex thing is very important to men. And it was just so funny and so out of the blues because we hadn't had those kind of conversations, but it registered in my mind. So I think, I find, being a generous wife also makes my life easier. So I don't know which one goes first, but don't frustrate your husband, Sha. Don't say that. Don't be every time tired. Also, do the needful. It will help you as well. So I mean, I think that helps me. And
Yeah.
So I don't know which one is first, but don't frustrate each other.
And I think really either one can go first, depending on what you're trying to achieve. I mean, for example, in my own marriage, sometimes when tension, maybe there are different things going on, and I'm trying to get across to my husband, and we're not hearing each other. Honestly, sometimes I just, put aside my own frustration, because I know that, you know, sometimes if when a man doesn't, get sex from his wife, it can make them to be very cranky sometimes. So having that knowledge, I mean, so let's get this crankiness out of the way. So I don't mind putting aside my own ego or how I feel. So I give him sex, so that way he's calm, and then I can now bring up whatever it is I want to do. So who goes first? Either party, depends on what is needed in the circumstance.
I think that's very interesting. And I know that while some people may struggle with that, I think that one way of looking at it sometimes, and maybe, like we said before, discussions, even with, my husband and I, when we do counseling, sometimes we would finish a session and I'll be like, especially when I'm on the wife's side, and he's like, let me explain to you why he's thinking this way, And is one of the things he's helped me to understand is sex to a man is really like putting fuel in a car. It's not really about, there's a design aspect generally, that what sex is to a man is a bit more, it's very important to a man and a woman. Absolutely. There are women who have a stronger sexual drive than their husbands, and so that's, their husbands are like, again, I know they're not, as a men are like, you lucky devil, but you know what I mean. But I think for a lot of men also, it helps just seeing it that it really, like Tutu was trying to say, it's in most cases actually physiological build that enables them also to just sort of function, be able to let go of certain types of tension. There's a way that women, sex might be great for us, but oh my goodness, a fantastic spa day is even amazing for some women as well. So I think reciprocity is what I'm picking up from everybody here in how we approach this, And I'll just I know we only have a few minutes, but I wanted to I think we've answered it, but I wanted to just talk about this. And maybe I feel, maybe we should be a bit pointed. How would a couple satisfy themselves, Pastor Tia, outside sexual intercourse? And maybe, I'll have Tutu and then maybe have Remy then speak to this just before we round up. I know sometimes people have, I don't know there was a word, Remy, you used, street something, I think street, what did you call it?
Oh, I can't remember now.
Street
something, that street.
Oh, yeah, street, yeah.
I think some area where street religion comes in is when we talk about oral sex. I think that's something that brings, because you may go through that period where, you're physically exhausted and the rest of it. But are there other ways, to help arousal, or if people have arousal dysfunction of some sort or desire, other ways in which couples can play with their bodies, mutually find ways to stimulate each other and enjoy each other? And I know sometimes that's why I said, there's that, different opinions about it. I'm that person that, to a large extent, I don't want to, I believe strongly that, as long as the marriage bed is undefiled, you have a lot of freedom in how you bring pleasure to yourselves, as long as you're both mutually on the same page. And you're on the same page because you bring wholeness to it. Some couples are on the same page to do certain things that damages their relationship. So just because you're on the same page doesn't mean, by research, so if a couple say, watching pornographic materials helps us as a couple, we're both happy with it. But then research shows that there's a danger to that. So it can't just be because you're both happy with it. So I would leave today's show we've dealt with it previously on this show about the extremes. I just want to maybe in just one or two sentences, how do couples, build other, and not romantic now, sexual, ways of building their intimacy, even when intercourse in a particular season might not be working.
No, thank you, Nike. I'm glad you mentioned oral sex, for example. If the couple feel comfortable with that, that could help, um, satisfy both parties if it's something they, mutually want to engage in. And, a lot of foreplay too can help. Especially women. Sometimes for women, it doesn't really, really have to end up in sex. A woman can get orgasm just from foreplay. So a lot of foreplay is encouraged. A lot of touching each other, petting each other, you know, is good. Cuddling, cuddling is good. I mean, this sounds very basic, but honestly, some couples, especially with health challenges, even that cuddling that we think is basic may actually be a lot, for someone that is, physically weak. But if that's all they are able to do, that's something, I would encourage them to engage in, just cuddling, holding each other, petting each other, kissing each other, and, talking, or
Okay.
just sometimes just laying there in
Hmm.
each other's company.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Any final thoughts, Remy?
Yeah, just been there for each other. I work in a hospital, mental health hospital.
Hmm.
At times you see elderly people in their 80s and they're not well. The other party will just be there for hours, just holding hands together.
Hmm.
And it goes a long way. Just being there for for your spouse, listening to your spouse, helping out. It goes a long way. It's not everything that is sex. At the same time, I know that people use other things like Tutu said sex toys. I've heard of a vibrator before. I don't know if you've heard of vibrator. It's just because of just like I said, I work with people with mental health illness, and I know a patient of mine, that has one, and it's a private to her. So yeah, she's allowed to use it. So that's how I got to know about vibrator. So yeah, if people, in as much that I have a kind of a strong belief, just like you said, Ninke, if you're husband and wife and you're doing things that maybe by through research, it does not have any bad side effect on you, and you're happy, both of you are happy doing it and brings joy to you, I mean, go ahead and do it, kind of. It's not something that is against, your faith. You're kind of, go ahead, and do it. There's something I wanted to say, yeah, probably from the previous question about our look. A woman's look is very, very important. Someone like myself, even though I have the nightcap on, when it is time for action, I throw it away. I just want to look nice, for my husband. When the action is on, it's not the time to be the best, throw the night scarf away and look beautiful. So ladies, we just need to be look, because that is what attracts the men. You know that our physical look attract men. Yeah, just
Thank you. Wow. This has been, I've really, really enjoyed this session. In fact, it has been our final session for season 3. Thank you so much for our audience for always tuning in, supporting, giving us your after show feedback. We're really, really excited. We will be back with My Take season 4 in 2023. But between now and then, watch this space for other shows that will be coming out of the Relationships with Adenike platform. Why don't you, if you haven't, why don't you subscribe now so you get, a reminder when a new show comes up? And then you can also go back. Like I said, season 3 has been all about the help series. We've talked about different areas: help with parenting, help with finances, help in marriage, help with spousal issues, help of all sorts, of people who need to exit toxic relationships, toxic, violent relationships, and need to create boundaries. We've talked about so many types of help scenarios that people can experience, whether they're single, married, male, female. So please feel free to go back and watch any of the episodes. I'd like to say a big thank you on behalf of all the ladies on My Take show. Thank you, Remy, for being with us today. Absolutely awesome. Loved the conversation. And thank you, Tutu Feyi, and of course to my other ladies, Tosin, Lola, Jumoke, who are not here today, but they've been amazing on the different episodes. Thank you all very much. We look forward to when we all reconvene on My Take show. But from all of us here, bye-bye. Bye.